I would like to
Yes.
invite our next speakers, Apoorva and Rahul. Can Apoorva and Rahul, you guys confirm if you have joined in?
Yes.
Yes, Hitesh.
Thanks a lot. Welcome, both of you. I think let me start with the introduction. So Apoorva, she is currently associated with Capital Q as a senior software engineer. She is a self-motivated test enthusiast with over almost 5 years of experience in test industry, which she strongly believes is to be a craft. She is an avid explorer of latest tools and technologies exist in the industry of test automation and likes to make video tutorial out of it. She loves to participate in testing conferences, which helps her understand the perspective of testers across the globe. I think that's what I believe you are here. So I'm sure this is a lot of learning that we'll be having. On the other hand, we have Rahul. He is currently associated as senior software engineer at IFM Engineering Private Limited. He has worked on software development, testing, and automation projects in his 3 years tenure at Capgemini. Presently, he is involved into the industry of test automation, and he is an experienced professional in the areas of Selenium, Appium, VNet driver. And from the language perspective, he's experienced with C Sharp and Python. He also has published an ebook labeled Ultimate Productivity Toolkit. I think it's a really great book, I must say, Rahul. Today, Apoorva and Rahul would be speaking on an interesting topic, which is common testing mistakes. Are we really evolving? I think that is, in an essence, I believe, is the question to all of automation and testing professionals. That are we really evolving with the time and with the latest tools and technology? So let's hear more in detail from them. Welcome, Apoorva and Rahul. The floor is all yours to take.
Thank you,
Thank
Hitesh.
you. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you
Can
for
I
this introduction.
can I
And
ask you to share the screen? I think.
yes, I'm doing that.
Thanks a
And
lot.
I am glad you have seen my book and you also like it.
Yeah,
That's a positive for
yeah.
me.
Keep writing. Keep writing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So hope you all can see my screen. The feedback, is it visible?
It's visible.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Global Testing Retreat. The mantra for this conference is to test better. We need to know better. And keeping this mantra in mind, I and Apoorva decided to talk about some common testing mistakes and ask a question that are we really evolving? Our industry has matured a lot over the time, over the years, and with so much change going on, we feel that still some mistakes about testing keeps on repeating year after year, and it's a cause of a lot of suffering and misconceptions about testing and testers. So here we are to talk about some common testing mistakes, the traps, the realities, and things associated with these mistakes. So with me is Apoorva. Hitesh has already given an introduction. She is senior software test engineer with Qapitol QA. Hi Apoorva.
Hi, Rahul. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be speaking at ATA GTR. Hope you all are having a nice time. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. And I am Rahul Parwal. I work as a senior software engineer with IFM Engineering, and my Twitter handle is @Parwal Rahul. So before we start this talk, we wanted to give credits to this amazing book, from which we both are inspired and from which we both draw ideas for this talk. So that is Perfect Software and Other Illusions About Testing. It's a book by Gerald M. Weinberg, also known as Jerry Weinberg, who has written amazing, fantastic books on computer programming, software, and the psychology of computer programming, and so on. And this book talks about a lot of illusions that goes on in the field and craft of testing. It's an old book, but when you read this book, you'll find out that most of these illusions are still present today. Another interesting fact is that most of the people think that a lot of problems in testing is because it's over complicated or it's hard or uh, it's hard to represent or express. But let's hear what Jerry Weinberg had to say about all this suffering. So Jerry says that suffering continues not because testing is complicated or time consuming or laborious, like how most people think it to be, but because of the unreasonable expectations and fallacious models that people have about software testing. So in this talk, we are going to talk about many such unreasonable expectations and models and how they harm our craft, how they don't let us be at the excellence of our craft. So over to you, Apoorva.
Thank you, Rahul. So, if we look back at the history of software testing, it dates back to as old as the 90s, 30s. So, if you can see in this image, there has been a lot of development since then in terms of technology, the testing tools, the resources, the conferences, the companies and communities, all of this. But the problems or challenges that we as an industry faced back then are still prevalent today due to some common mistakes. So let's now look at those common mistakes. So the first common mistake is thinking that locating errors can be scheduled. Like I, as a tester, have encountered these questions a lot in my testing career. If you can also relate to these questions, then please let us know in the chat. The first question is that can you find all bugs by tomorrow, or can you do full testing by tomorrow? So you can replace the word tomorrow with maybe next week, next month, or in a few months. But still the answer would be no, because we can never do full testing or find all the bugs in a definite time frame. But again, you might have this question that we make test plans, we make estimates, all of that. But I would like to tell you that the estimates that we make are for the sampling of the tests, but not all the tests. So the next question is, why don't we implement CI/CD to eliminate these dedicated testing periods? I mean, seriously, can we implement a process to eliminate testing periods? No. We might implement them to reduce the testing periods, but we cannot eliminate the testing periods completely. And then we have this green report fallacy, which says the report looks green, there are no bugs now. So this is a very big fallacy that we have, that if the report looks green, then there might not be any bugs. But testing shows the presence of bugs, but not the absence of them. So let's looking at the realities now. Scheduling locating errors is like scheduling the arrest of criminals. Can we really schedule the arrest of any criminal? No, right? Because it needs a lot of investigation, evaluation, conclusion, all of these things. And we cannot just randomly go and schedule and just arrest somebody. So I would like to quote James back here that we testers are not in the proof business. We are in the evidences and inferences business. Testing is purely driven by heuristics, which are fallible ways of solving a problem, so it might fail at some point of time. And testing is inherently exploratory. We test to explore, we test to discover the unknowns, the information. So all of this exploration process can never be scheduled in a definite time frame. Hence, so moving on to the next mistake, that is not considering the time lost to task switching. We testers are given a lot of tasks, and whenever we switch between multiple tasks, we lose valuable amount of time. There is this popular notion in our industry that multitasking is a productivity skill. And a lot of companies have this maximum value syndrome where they allocate one tester to multiple tasks to extract the maximum value out of them. And there are some who think that testing is a passive activity that can be clubbed with any other activity, while some do not plan the testing work at all. So these are the traps. Now let's look at the reality. As a tester, if we do multitasking, then we are bound to regret it sooner or later. You can read more about this in the book The Myth of Multitasking by David Crenshaw. People do not switch contexts easily. Every context switch comes with its own cost. We lose some valuable amount of time in every context switch. So if you can see in this table here, if we are allocated one task, then 100% of our time is allocated in that task. But when we have two tasks and we are switching between the two tasks, we are allocating 40% of time on each task. So which adds up to 80%. So 20% of time is lost in the context switching. Similarly, if there are more than 5 tasks, then we are doing tasks at random. We don't have any percentage of time allocated for each task. And at any given point of time, we don't know what we are really working on. And it is a very chaotic situation. So as testers, we need to plan our day and time really well, because if we fail to plan, then we plan to fail. As the saying goes by, plans are nothing but planning is everything.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the next mistake.
Yeah. Next mistake is treating testing as a low priority task that can be interrupted for just about any reason. A lot of people still think that testing is a low priority task. It can be done by anyone and anybody, and it can be done at any phase. And they think of testing as only verification or only checking, but testing is much more than that. So let's look at the reality. Can anyone do testing? Can anybody just do testing? The answer is yes. Just like cooking, anyone can do it to some degree. But for reliable and responsible testing or cooking, it needs to be someone's priority, and it cannot be frequently interrupted. And if it is frequently interrupted, then you cannot expect reliable results. So that's about not considering it low priority. Another fact to testing is that testing is not just limited to verification. Testing includes verification, but it also includes a lot of other things like exploration, which is looking out for the unknowns. And as they say, focus explorations thrive on focus and are killed by interruptions. So testing can never thrive when there are multiple or frequent interruptions. It has to be given its own dedicated amount of focus time. Let's look at the next common popular mistake, which is also very prevalent in these times. That is demanding that testers pinpoint each and every failure. So if a tester encounters any failure or any issue, there is an expectation from them now that they should reduce the developer work and pinpoint each and every failure. They should spend time to pinpoint till they reach the failure point, and then only they should reproduce or report those issues. Some see of problems as definite issues. Okay, if it is not this, then what should it be? Is it true? Is it false? Is it 1? Is it 0? But most problems are not like that. So let's look at the reality. In reality, there is no clear line between discovery of a bug or an issue or a failure and pinpointing of a failure that can be readily applied in all cases. Yes, in majority of the cases, you can discover a bug and then you can pinpoint to it or pinpoint the exact root cause. But in certain other cases, it's not possible that you discover and then you can also pinpoint it from top layers. Maybe the root cause is 2 layers or 3 layers down, or maybe it is from a third party application. So can a tester help a developer with this? Yes. But is it only a tester's job to pinpoint every failure? No. So, and like looking at problems, most problems are beyond the definite boundaries of yes and no. Most problems require human judgment, they require observation, they require looking for multiple possibilities, problem solving, and so on and so forth. So stop thinking of problems as some yes or no issues and think deeply. So let's look at the next mistake.
So the next mistake is repairing without retesting. So many a times we have raised bugs and then the fixes have been made and it's moved to production without even retesting. So, and when in the production the failure occurs or any kind of chaos occurs, they come back to the QA team and there is a full chaotic confusion. So how does this situation arise? What are the traps that lead to this situation? Let's look at them. Thinking that repairs have been done diligently and the testing phase can be bypassed. And then there is this developer optimism which says this module is developed by XYZ developer who always takes complete care, so there is no chance of any leakage or any bug. Some would say that we have not changed anything significant, while the others would say that another round of testing might just disrupt the system or disrupt the software. Really? So let's look at the realities now. The side effects of if repairs are done in a hurry, then they always tend to make things worse. So if they're not in a hurry, then why not, if we have the time, retest it and then release it. Nothing's changed scam. This is this itself is a big scam. Whenever somebody comes and says to you that nothing significant has changed, then it means that nothing significant that they can think of has changed, but something has changed, right? And that change can cause an effect. So we need to retest whenever some changes are made. Humans are not perfect thinkers. How much ever we try, we are bound to make mistakes at some or the other point of time. So never rely on this developer optimism that if so and so developer has done it, then there might be no chances of any errors or bugs in it. Then, and if somebody comes and says to you that another round of testing would again disrupt the system or the software, be ready to say that testing never destroys anything, but the illusions that are built around that system, it only destroys that illusions of overconfidence. That's all. So
Absolutely.
moving on to the next mistake is ignoring the cross connections. So even today in our industry, there is this notion that testing is a standalone activity. It is considered as an independent activity. And we are sometimes caught up in this trap of linear thinking, where we believe 1 plus 1 is always equals to 2. And we as testers sometimes ignore the systems thinking, which is most important, crucial, and a very critical element when we talk about testing. So let's look at the reality now. Testing is as much part of software development as development is. When testing and development go hand in hand, then we produce a quality software. And then there is this trap of linearity fallacy, where we tend to believe that 1 plus 1 always adds up to 2. So I would like to give an example here that if you take 10 kilograms of uranium and add another 10 kilograms of uranium, then you get 20 kilograms of uranium. But if you add another 20 kilograms of uranium to this existing 20 kilograms of uranium, you don't get 40 kilograms of uranium, but what you get is a nuclear explosion. So in testing, if we are testing two features in X amount of time, then we assume that if there are two more features added to be tested, then 2x is the amount of time that we will require to test it. And this conclusion we come to by ignoring the cross connections. The cross connections between all these four features that have to be tested, we completely ignore them and we come to a conclusion. So as testers, we need to do systems thinking. Systems are a sum product of interaction between the essential parts. So if we tend to test the parts individually and if they are working fine, we cannot conclude that the system is working fine. We have to also test the interaction between all these essential parts that are constituting the system. We need to consider the system as a whole and test it as a whole, including all these cross connections that we've been ignoring.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I think systems thinking is one of the most ignored skill or thing by testers and by people around testing. So yes, let's look at the next common mistake, that is paying insufficient attention to testability. And like a lot of things, testability is often an afterthought in most of the projects, teams, companies, and I mean, people and projects end up having messy testing phase, messy testing process, and they start thinking that let's look for that one magical tool, or they start believing in that magical pitches by companies that we can fix all your testing challenges. But that's again a trap if you don't have the required amount of testability in your products. Most people don't even ask for testability from developers upfront. So there is no direct communication on these lines, or there are no discussions that happen on the project meetings on the lines of testability. So what's the reality? Testability is a big asset. It can save you time and efforts. If your application has testability, then tools that you are using are going to leverage you benefits. They are going to save time and efforts for you. But if the testability is negative, it's poor, then no matter what amount of good tool you use, it would only amplify the negativity. It will only amplify the chaos, and people will just keep on complaining that locators are changing every day, or we cannot understand the things from the logs. They are not clear. Variables are not getting printed, and so on and so forth. For testers, testability is actually the golden heuristic. If you look at any good or excellent testing solution, a lot of people present good testing solutions here. The secret ingredient behind all such good testing solutions is a testable code. If the code isn't testable, you can never have a good testing solution. And the key to getting testability is to asking for it. And once you ask for it, you can get it. If you don't ask for it, you are never going to get it. But if you ask for it, even if they cannot give it to you right now, they may give it to you the next time. In the next features, they can implement it. So start talking on these lines, start asking for this. So moving on to the next mistake.
Yes. So the next mistake is insisting all bugs be reproducible. So we might have come across this intermittent, inconsistent bugs that we might have raised them as critical or high priority bugs. But then the developer comes to us and says these are low priority bugs because we are not able to reproduce them. Because there goes this thinking that changes are a result of controlled parameters only, and the uncontrolled parameters that lie behind them, like the OS, the initial state, all of this are ignored and they go unnoticed. So coming to the reality, bugs depend on a lot of parameters like the OS, platform, the configuration, the triggers, the timing, the resources, the initial states, all of this. So there are a lot of controlled and uncontrolled parameters that are there behind every bug. But most of the time, what happens is we concentrate only on the controlled parameters and we completely ignore the uncontrolled parameters. So the next time somebody says that this bug is irreproducible, we as testers need to ask ourselves, do we really know how this bug was produced in the first place? What were the conditions, the controlled and uncontrolled parameters that led to this bug? If we know them, if the answer to that is yes, then we might as well uh, put the right conditions and the under right conditions and under right timing, this bug might well as well get reproduced, and then this would not just be a low priority bug, it might be of some critical or serious issue. So yeah, the next time we are looking at irreproducible or inconsistent intermittent bugs, let's look at all of these uncontrolled and controlled parameters and then think again on these lines.
So I mean, every bug is irreproducible till you hit the
Right conditions.
So yeah, that's important.
So the next mistake is confusing testing with creating and executing test cases. Yes, you might have heard this a lot, that testing is equal to creating and executing test cases. This is what a lot of people who don't test think about us. So, and the testing progress is sometimes measured by the number of test cases we have written or the number of bugs that we have raised. So these are the traps. Now let's look at the reality. So testers do a lot of things other than writing test cases and reporting bugs. They interact with the different teams. They try to understand the user's perspective and they design tests. They develop data sets for the test. They create strategies. They develop the testing tools that will assist them in their testing. They study the specification. They make bug reports. They make testing reports. And they do a lot of planning also goes in all of this. So these are all the different tasks that a tester would do, but they are all rumbled up under one umbrella word, which is testing. And people don't really know that we do all of this also apart from creating test cases and executing them. We need to showcase that as well. And people optimize what we measure them against. So if we measure them against the number of test cases that they have written or the number of bugs they have raised, then they will keep on continuing that only. And this will result in a lot of test cases, but poor testing, and focus will be more over the quantity over the quality.
Absolutely. So the last mistake that we are going to cover in detail is demanding a complete process overhaul in your company. Most of the times when testers attend these conferences, meetups, they talk to other testers in communities and they realize the traps, they realize some mistakes, they learn some lessons. They feel like going and changing the complete process in their company immediately. But then that can also be a mistake too. And why that can be a mistake, let's look at it. So no matter what they say or how they say, it's always a people's problem. Though we live in a technical industry, but we deal with people and we deal with people's problem. Most problems are not some coding problem or tool problem that you can just replace one line and those problems are going to go. Another thing is that most people can actually successfully absorb only 10% into their psychological category of no problem. If you overwhelm people with suggestions, they might get defensive, which happens in most of the cases, or they may start ignoring you, avoiding you, that you are telling too many changes at once. So don't overwhelm people. And third is, this is a popular quote from the medical industry. It's Marvin's medical secret, which says that deal gently with systems that should be able to cure themselves. Don't be rigorous over each and every issue. Not each and every issue needs to be solved right now. Some problems will automatically get solved over the time. So choose one thing at a time, go 10% at a time, make a 10% promise, and approach all these things logically and systematically. And if you have, are a fan of consulting, or if you want to learn more about it, this book, The Secrets of Consulting, a guide to giving and getting advice successfully, is a Bible in this area. It's also written by Jerry Weinberg, one of the amazing book which changed how I started thinking about people and consulting and relations and everything. So it's an amazing book for anybody who wants to learn more about consulting. And this is not the end of the mistake. What we covered, the 10 points. This is just a start. There are a lot of other common mistakes that are prevalent in the testing industry, like making emotional decisions over rational, or not insisting on due diligence from managers, not understanding sampling. Sampling is very important and essential to testing. The role of sampling, how the quality of sampling all affects things. Or blaming people for finding bugs late. Once you start blaming, and the next time they will stop hiding, they will start hiding the bugs. If they find anything late, they will start commenting the test, they will start commenting the scripts, or not reporting it. So that's all bad. Rushing the testers, and anything that doesn't crash must be okay. Believing that tests can prove correctness. I know Hitesh has turned on camera and we are about to finish. So before Hitesh says that, I'll just cover this one slide in quick 30 seconds and then we'll wrap it up. So if you are interested in more such realities, and if you like reading about testing literature, there are amazing books available, like Perfect Software and Other Illusions About Testing, Secrets of Consulting, Amplifying Your Effectiveness. There are there are nice blogs that you can follow. Satisfies by James Bach, Develop Sense, Tester Tested, Secrets of Consulting by Jerry Weinberg. Amazing communities. Agile Test Alliance is one. There these conferences, ATA, GTR, TribalConf. These are amazing places where you can learn. There are good courses and workshops on testing. BBST Foundations is one. It's free of cost, so go for it. And if you are a hands-on tester, maybe the Testing Lab Advanced can help you. And if you are a reading guy, maybe Tea Time with Tester is a good magazine. So with this, we know we have reached the end. So thank you all. And before wrapping up, we really want to thank Agile Testing Alliance, who gave us this opportunity to talk on such a topic on testing. This was not a technique topic or a technology topic. So it takes, courage for the organizers to bring in such topics and talk about these areas. So thank you to all the organizers, hosts, and and the entire ATS GTR team. You have been very supportive from time to time, and thanks to everyone who spent their time with us. We hope you made the best out of this time, and we are open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ATA for giving us this opportunity. Like, we are first time speakers, and it's been a smooth cakewalk. Like, from the time we submitted the paper until the time we are speaking now, it's been very smooth. So thank you, the entire team of ATA and all the attendees that you have given your valuable time, that you have come to a talk and attended it. Thank you so much. Yes, we can take up the questions now.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Rahul, Apoorva. I think you guys just have lifted the confidence of testers with that talk. And I think it was kind of very soothing to a lot of people. Like they have been into tech, sessions earlier. This was more of a breather for them. Yeah, I think with that, let me just bring up my screen again. So now, so that we are open for question, I think there is one interesting question that is posted by Jivan. He's asking that, can you please name few magic tools?
It's a I read this question while I was talking, and it's more in the lines of magical expectations that can make any tool magical. I mean, and once you don't look for three limitations that a tool can have, and three possibilities where a tool might not work, anything will look magic. I mean,
Okay, so I feel that the answer lies with the magician and not the tool.
yeah.
Anyways, I think it was wonderful having you guys here. It was a very good session, and I think from even it was back to basics. If we take a look at automation perspective, or if someone wants to mold this into the automation, I think testability, few points they can still use it while approaching or solving the problems of any client's solution. So yeah, it was great having you guys here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank
Hitesh.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.